On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we're going to talk the bad first. We're recording this, obviously, on Sunday. Show drops for you on Monday, which means we're recording it at the very end of Missouri men's basketball's horrible loss to Jackson State. We're going to recap that. We're going to talk about the Minnesota game as well, although that kind of just feels insignificant at this point. And then we have some football stuff, a lot more positive on that regard. We had the first flip miss case for Eli Drinkwitz, and then Mizzou moved up to number 10 in the AP and Coaches Poll. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Some more general stuff as well. We had the Board of Curators announcement. Kenny's got some salary stuff to talk about with Mizzou's football coaching staff. And then we have recruiting trail stuff as well with Eli Drinkwitz in addition to the flip miss stuff. And then we'll end with quick hits. Got Ken Sports Shorts, best beats of the week, dirty birds of the weekend, and our fraud rankings. We'll put on a brave face for that part to still make it fun, despite Mizzou men's basketball. And we'll finish with the ratio. So great show to dive into, and it's all presented by Bet Online. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling, and college basketball is ready to go as well. Bet Online remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, and NHL are all in full swing, and Bet Online is your number one source for wagering news, odds, and trends and predictions. We'll have our best beats of the week, as we always do. Sicko bet. Get all those lines from Bet Online. So all the hoops betting action, along with every sport available right at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time. So head to Bet Online today and remember to use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV, BELIEVE, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts, and the unwritten rule starts right now.
Marcel? Where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, November 20th, and me and Payton were very excited to share our, experience of Mizzou men's basketball going to Minnesota on the road, getting a wild win after a 31-9 comeback after being down 20. But that feels obsolete at this point because then the Tigers went out and had an absolute stinker on Sunday and lost 73-72 to 0-5, now 1-5, Jackson State. This team, Kenny and Payton, has lost to Memphis, just as Mizzou has, San Diego, California Baptist, Loyola Marymount, and Tulsa. By, I believe Payton said it before we were on air, by a combined 18, or averaging losses by 18 points. This is really, really bad. We're recording here just after the game, so it's pretty fresh. And it's kind of stolen the headline for all of the wrong reasons because, we talked with Drew King. We still felt like he had still felt, and I think we had still felt that this team was going to be pretty good still, Mizzou at least. And this feels like the lowest of the low. I know in 2019 when we started college, they lost to Charleston Southern. That was really bad. There was the UMKC loss. I believe that one was in 2021. Or 2022, if I'm not mistaken. This feels on par, if not worse. And I know you don't ever want to overreact to the fourth game of the non-conference, but honestly, I do want to overreact here because this was a putrid game to lose, not a game I don't think anyone was expecting to lose, and an embarrassing performance to see from a team that hit all the heights last year. Your boys' thoughts.
Well, it's needless to say, it doesn't get much worse than that. Look, I knew going into this year, it really did feel like, okay, this is probably going to be Dennis's. This is going to be a transition year. You don't lose two NBA players. And really the best candidate to replace both of them, whether we want to admit it or not, was Isaiah Mosley. He didn't come back. So it was always going to be kind of interesting to see. I think we know now, this is going to be a transition year to end all transition years. even in your down years, this is a team you should beat 100 times out of 100. I hated that the broadcast kept saying, like, they're the best 0-5 team in the nation. They're the best 0-5 team in the nation. I hated that Dennis Gates said it in the postgame. It was not a team you should ever lose to. And Mizzou, I mean, they played with fire all night, and they got burned. There's just no other way around it. I really don't think anyone played a complete good game. There were moments, but end of the day, you just lost to a really, really, really bad team. Probably just killed your chances of making the tournament. I mean, that's just – it would take a turnaround to end all turnarounds to kind of reverse that trend.
Yeah, Jack mentioned where Jackson State has kind of come from in this last week. 3 games in the past week for Jackson State. The funny thing about it, Jackson State hasn't played a game at home yet. On the road against Memphis, 94-77. San Diego on the road, 87-61. California Baptist, 80-66. LMU, 88-66. Tulsa, 72-52. Just ridiculous that this team just gets blown out by all these schools that the Tigers, a Power 5 program, should be blowing out. And interesting enough, they've also played Memphis this season. But you talk about this team, this Jackson State team having a pretty busy week with 3 games in the last 7 days. And in the post game, Jackson State's representative in the interview mentioned that they practiced full throttle yesterday. They didn't take yesterday off, and they're coming into this game. It looked like gas. They played a better, more physical contest than the Missouri Tigers did. And it was obvious. We saw some offensive fouls that Jackson State was drawing that, I mean, it didn't feel like Mizzou was out there. It didn't feel like Dennis Gates' team when you look at what last year was coming into last year and how they can overcome certain, slow starts against teams like Jackson State, and nothing was pieced together down the stretch.
Yeah, and you mentioned the home game. This team doesn't play a home game until January 6th. All of their non-conference games are on the road. It is what it is. Like, you make this joke about in football all the time, so you can say this, like, football where you have, like, I think it was Troy and LSU that one year where you paid Troy to be your homecoming game and you lost. That's what these teams are doing with Jackson State. I think they play like Houston, Gonzaga maybe. They're a team that, like, these good programs kind of pay as like a tune-up game and a chance to kind of get, to get better. Oh yeah, sorry. They do have a game December 16th at Howard versus Howard at home. But all of their, like, it's just inexcusable. It's so frustrating. And I don't think it's ever been fair. I know you really have nothing else to pull from. I don't think it's ever been fair to compare this team to last year because of what they lost. But, I think Payton said it in the text, like, we didn't think Mizzou would bottom out like this. And it negates everything that you had go well for you. The momentum you got from that grill ejection to the turnaround that we saw in Minnesota. And we can touch on that game, but you've taken a complete tailspin after that. Like, it's great that we saw that team rally together, but it doesn't matter when you go to a Sunday game at home. I know there's not very many fans there. Students are going home on Thanksgiving break. It's a Sunday afternoon game. It's a weird time, but you've got to show up for those games, plain and simple. And that's all Mizzou needed to do today to win this game, and they didn't do it. And there is a lot of questions, and we can get into a couple of specifics here with, like Payton said, no one played a complete game. But there's a lot of questions this team has to answer, Payton. I'll turn to you with that, like, for the specifics you saw that allowed this to happen.
I'm not even sure I'd call them questions. I think we got a lot of answers today, to be quite honest with you. One thing that we were kind of interested to see coming into the year was how this kind of rotation shapes out with so many new faces. 13 players played today. It's just too many players at this point. I mean, we're just running out nonsensical lineups right now. I mean, there was a long stretch where Carolero and Shaw were on the floor at the same time. Those two are not threats to score right now. That's just simply what it is. I know Carolero hit a 3 today. That's once in a blue moon. I think that was his first bucket of the year. And Shaw has done some good things. I think he's definitely improved defensively. But, I mean, he still is struggling to get boards consistently. He still doesn't have much of a game on offense right now. He's definitely the project that we kind of were thinking he might be. He's going to need some time, and he's just not there right now. And you cannot run lineups that feature him and Carolero. John Tonje, I know he's dealing with an injury, or was earlier in the year. I'd have to assume that's still the case since he started and only played 7 minutes. Connor Vanover started, only played 3 minutes. You probably just got to take him out right now because, my goodness, I mean, he was like just not closing out threes early on in the game, and it burned them. There's just too many cooks in the kitchen right now, and I think Dennis needs to just find his best 8 or 9, and that's just got to be it. I mean, you want to get the playing time for the freshmen too, but maybe sometimes they just shouldn't play. There's just too much going on the court right now. I think it's time to just hunker down, find your best 8 or 9 and see what can happen.
And you'd hope that coming into these non-conference games too, that the starters, the regulars, the more experienced guys are having better games, offering you those minutes to give those freshmen a look. I mean, some of these freshmen might not be, getting as many minutes when it comes down to it in SEC play. But at this point, I mean, we don't really know where the Tigers' trajectory is, if there really is a big one this year. And we talked about it before as well with the 3-pointers, that Dennis likes, if it's not falling, keep shooting until it falls, get into the rhythm. There were some just really poor 3-point shots in this game. I mentioned this with Payton right before we started this, that Nick Honor had a big and one that he pulled there in like the final 4 minutes. He comes back on the next offensive possession and just airballs a step back 3. And Nick Honor does great finding space. He is a smaller guy. He is a guard, and he's not the biggest guy on the floor, but he can create space, especially with those step backs. And it was just poor shot selection, especially when you're playing such a tight game against Jackson State. It'd be huge. I mean, a tone-setting shot if he makes it. Didn't even touch the rim, and that's where it kind of just comes some head-scratching shots. It was some guys, almost wanted to be the hero and take that shot, and I thought Nick Honor kind of, has proved that he can be a guy that takes the big shot for you, but nothing was really clicking for him. I mean, you look at the line, he did have one of the better, more complete games, but still went 3 from 9 from the 3-point line.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Nick Honor was fine, but if anything, he kind of identifies that it's just, I mean, you don't have a guy right now. I mean, like you thought you maybe had it in East, or like he showed that he could maybe be it against Minnesota when he took over and hit that shot, and then follows that up with 6 points. I mean, for me, the big thing you look that pops up to me, at least on stats, is the turnovers. I mean, they turned the ball over 18 times, and Jackson State more significantly turned that into 26 points on the other end. I mean, they were giving baskets away. Any team is going to be able to do that, or to beat you if you keep doing that. Didn't have a field goal in the final 3 minutes and 11 seconds of this game. Just no one took over. They went on like a 10-0 run at one point in the second half. Jackson State fought and clawed their way back into it. And Missouri just couldn't deliver the knockout blow. They didn't really have a guy to deliver the knockout blow. I agree with Payton that like it's probably time you just find your best 8 or 9 and stick with them. Or I don't know, you just tank and play the freshmen a lot and try and get them developed for when you have this class come in. I mean, it's a damn shame Anar Boateng was at this game. That's another note. They put him on the Jumbotron on the court, and then he went out and watched this. I mean, this is a lose moxie in the recruiting game is how bad and significant of a loss this is.
I mean, that was the one thing I was hoping for. I didn't even need like an NCAA tournament team again. I mean, everyone should have just been hoping, all right, just tread water. Maybe you get in the NIT or something. Just don't bottom out. And I mean, this, boy, oh boy, if they play like this most nights, I mean, they're going to lose a lot of games. I mean, the assist to turnover thing, especially, I mean, that's something Gates just harps on so much. And, early in the season last year, I mean, it was not this much of a struggle for them to kind of, yes, they were still gelling. They were still finding the right mix. But, I mean, I remember they started like the first 5 or 6 games last season. They had 20 assists like in each one of those games. I remember it was a big deal. That's just not happening this year. I mean, it just, and maybe we should have seen this coming. I mean, because whether we wanted to admit it or not, Mizzou missed a lot of its targets in the transfer portal. They whiffed on Caden Shedrick. They whiffed on Matt Cleveland. They didn't even wind up getting Jimmy Bell in for a visit. It really is.
Kalel Ware.
Yeah, Kalel Ware. I mean, they didn't wind up getting anywhere with him. It was just, they settled a lot in the portal and kind of hoped that the returners would work out. And I mean, the portal additions have just been largely bad. I mean, Bates and even Grill today have had their moments. There's no difference maker in this group, and a lot of them have just been complete non-factors. So it's pretty eye-opening game, just needless to say, I think, for everybody.
It's obviously been a bigger setback this season, and that we all have expected. And you mentioned that when we talked with Drew, there were still some bright spots that we thought this team could turn around, and it does really just come down to that there is not that guy. And coming into the year, we knew that there wasn't a Kobe Brown, there wasn't a Demoy Hodge on this team that you're going to go to for those big buckets, or just someone that just really commands the offense. Moving forward, I don't know who's going to step up and really just be someone who can take over games, because it just really hasn't seen it that way this year. We've seen some good stretches from Nick Honor. We've seen some good stretches from Sean East, but someone just has to be able to do it on a day-to-day or game-to-game basis.
We can move on. We have good news to talk about with football, but yeah, I mean, there was we talked about this with Benny, like there was the loss to Kansas. He said that was the best thing to happen to them. And, maybe this game will turn out to be the case too, but it's a big difference between Kansas and 0-5 Jackson State. Like,
I would push back on that pretty heavily. That if that was going to be the case this year, the Memphis game would have been that, when they just absolutely got bottled up in the second half of that game. This is not that. This is not. You can't spin this into anything, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I guess I'm trying to have some sort of positive outlook. It's just, I know it's a long season, but I think it's going to be just that. It's going to be a long season. And you just kind of have to hope that, Dennis has earned, I guess I'll end it on this. I mean, Dennis has earned the benefit of the doubt for a lot of things. And I think, if coming in, you had the outlook that this is going to be his worst year, I have the belief that, when he starts to really embed his freshmen, when he starts to embed this recruiting class, it's going to turn back around, and he's going to, kind of create some of the success we saw last year. But I didn't think it was going to be this downtrodden, like Payton said.
No, I agree with that. I will say, I mean, the freshmen have all had moments this season. I mean, Trent Pierce only played precisely 0 total minutes. I mean, he played like 30 seconds. I mean, Butler, you see, like, he can be a presence down there, but a lot of work to do offensively. He's got to get better on the boards, which just seems to be the theme with a lot of big men right now. Ant really does strike me as someone where, I mean, with time, he could turn into like an all-SEC caliber guard.
Yeah, I'm excited about Ant Robinson. I'm really liking what I'm seeing about him. Like it's way more, it moves me way more to see a guy develop like that on the defensive end as a freshman. Like that excites me a lot.
And I know he had the game winner hit in his face. It was good defense. It was a better shot.
That guy got to his spot.
Yeah, it was just, it is what it is. But the problem is we're in an era where you can keep competitive teams going if you hit in the portal, and they did not do that, it appears. And it's just you gotta hope. With the class coming in, I really don't think it'll be hard to just keep that nucleus together. I would be surprised if Dennis is not working his tail off to keep them the whole way, especially because like 4 of them signed, or all of them signed already.
All of them signed.
So they actually can't even get out of it. But it could hurt recruiting down the line if you have a year like this, and that's just what sucks.
I want to throw one other thing about Anthony Robinson in there as well. Is like he did draw 4 fouls, but he was playing a pretty high physical game for a freshman. Only 4 4 games into the season now. I mean, he looked pretty good out there, strong. And I know he had a couple turnovers as well, but I liked, we've talked about this with Benny as well, is that, he does something, maybe like a little mistake, draws a foul. Tamar Bates, John Tonje, a couple guys are straight to him. They're like telling him, that's okay. It's something you're going to learn from, or, maybe the call didn't go your way. And I think, a lot of those guys on that, especially the guards, see him, as a future starter in the SEC.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll end it on something I said midway through the Minnesota game when Payton and I were watching Mizzou be down by 20. I turned to him and I go, I never thought I'd say this, or at least didn't think I'd say this for a really long time. At least the football team's good. And that's where I'll segue, because there's some wins. I mean, we recapped the Florida game. Go check that out. But then very quickly, I saw a lot of the journalists joking about, Eli, please let me sleep. I know. I just saw a lot of jokes about that, because Eli Drinkwitz is not messing around. He turned a narrow win and a exciting win against Florida that keeps Missouri's NY6 hopes alive into some flip miss. Merry flip miss, Kenny and Payton. Holiday season is upon us, the most important one, because Mizzou getting a flip from Talan Chandler, an in-state product. He's from, I think it's Nevada, right? I struggled with this my entire time at Mizzou. So sorry to anyone listening from Nevada. I want to make sure I get that right. Talan Chandler, center from Nevada, Missouri. Kenny, I'll stop yapping because I know you're excited to talk about this guy.
Yeah, I didn't know Talan Chandler still followed me on Twitter. I saw the announcement today and went on there, and I don't follow Talan Chandler anymore. I wrote about some recruiting stuff last year. Saw that, and I did some more research on Talan, and I think I briefly spoke with him last year, if I did at all. But when he committed to Colorado in February, the back of his mind, he didn't think there was an option at Missouri. And I learned this from his interview with Clint Cosgrove, who Mizzou fans love, at Rivals. And he in the conversation, he was like, when I committed to Colorado, I didn't think this was on the table. Mizzou was my dream school. That's where I wanted to be, close to home. I know people in the program, not just coaches, but players, guys he's worked out with in the summer, played with in his youth. He talked about Brady Cook as someone he's worked out with in the St. Louis area, which is pretty far from Nevada. He grew up playing with Brett Norfleet. Ja'Kai Lang, who's a freshman on the defensive line, he knows well. Armand Membu, he's worked out with before, who's up in the Kansas City area. I mean, there's a lot of connections there. And he said in the conversation that he made his decision this past week after that Tennessee game, comes back for his second visit at Florida, lets the guys know that, I'm flipping here. And he had nothing bad to say about Colorado at all. There was an opportunity there at Colorado, and he's a 5th-ranked center in the 2024 class. That's a big pickup for Mizzou, kind of looking down the road about where that offensive line could shape out in 2 to 3 seasons. But at the same time, he had nothing bad to hang his hat on about Colorado. It's just Mizzou was the school he always wanted to go to, close to home. So many opportunities there. Even has siblings that live in Columbia, so it's just a homecoming. And you talk about coming home. That's Columbia is that for him.
Yeah, nice. And how about it? Stealing a little guy from Coach Brian. Taking.
Do you believe now?
There was a insane Photoshop that it was just like, it was well done of Drinkwitz just like fully replaced Coach Prime in the cowboy hat, like running on the field. And I was like, this is like scary good of how they got the proportions all right. But yeah, I mean, we talk about this flip miss season. This is the kind of thing that's going to happen, especially for these in-state products. We've been talking extensively about how we want to see Mizzou improve, their ranking amongst the rest of these SEC East schools, especially.
And where they stand now in the SEC, according to Rivals, Tigers moved up to 13th, passing Mississippi State. And we know that they did fall with the decommitment of Payton. Help me with this one. Who is the latest decommitment for the Tigers?
Cam Dooley's
decommitment pushed them back. But it's also interesting when you look at it that the Tigers have the smallest recruiting class at the moment at 15. The next ones are 16 from South Carolina and Mississippi State. The more guys you get pushed in there, the more it can fluctuate with that average star ranking. Right now it's at 3.33 according to Rivals, and they're in the 40 range now amongst all teams. It's kind of keep taking that step forward. And we've talked about the flip miss season is around right now, and almost the rage recruiting that we joked about, kind of going after some of these guys that they missed on because they put a lot of focus into Ryan Wingo.
I have a theory on maybe the smaller high school class size, because this was before Chandler committed. I did see on Twitter that Mizzou if you just go by rating in like of the recruits they have, they're 22nd in the nation. They're getting good quality players. And they're going to add more. Courtney Crutchfield still appears to be a Mizzou lean. Nobody's changed their crystal balls there. They just had another Arkansas 4-star on campus, Ashton Bethel Davis. Jared Sensabaugh, we don't know what's going on with him, although it does seem like he's a Tennessee lean. I do think that Mizzou is likely, with a smaller class, going to focus pretty heavily on the portal. There's going to be some holes that need plugging, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because it's a good problem to have. You have a lot of guys that are going to go pro. Both the corners are likely to go pro. Carly's, I don't believe, or Charleston. They both may not be able to come back. Got some D linemen are going to be gone. Darius, he's going to be a high draft pick. Mizzou's going to lose Cody Schrader. There's a chance they lose Theo Weiss. So going to be a lot of movement on that O-line. Delgado and Javon Foster, I believe, both are out of eligibility, or Javon Foster's just going pro. So I would expect Mizzou, maybe the reason you're not seeing such a so many high school recruits as maybe you're used to under Drinkwitz, probably because Mizzou is going to have to hit the portal hard.
Yeah, good theory. But it is still nice to get these flip miss things. And I think more importantly for Drinky, being an in-state guy, that's something he's said for years that they want to
lock down the borders.
Yeah, lock down the borders. They gotta, they want to get all the in-state Mizzou kids. So, Talan Chandler going to be a Tiger. Took him from Coach Brown. Other stuff, Payton, I'll let you decide if you want to do this now or on Friday, because we can do a little speculating, because we obviously recording this on Sunday. We don't have the college football playoff ranking yet, because that comes out on Tuesdays. But Mizzou is 10th, which actually for them was moving up for the AP poll. They jumped up a spot. They're 10th in the AP and coaches poll. Payton, for bowl games, obviously the NY6 hope is still there. They got to get through Arkansas, of course. But if you guys want to give your take just on them being 10th, I don't think anyone was all that surprised. That's where they were. But bowl game, I know you've been already looking. Is it still kind of the same old, Cotton Peach Bowl, NY6 territory?
CBS has Mizzou, Peach against Penn State. Both ESPN guys had Mizzou playing Tulane in the Peach, if I'm not mistaken. So still largely on 3 did not have Mizzou in a New Year's 6. They had Oklahoma subbed in there. There is a little bit of a wrench thrown in with the conference title games, especially since Florida State lost Jordan Travis. If Louisville was to beat them, that's likely 2 teams from the ACC that or both teams would likely be in the New Year's 6 anyways, but it would take Florida State out of the playoff. Then there's Oklahoma floating around. They could make the Big 12 title game. I still think it's very, very, very unlikely, if I understand the way the bowl games work, that if Mizzou wins against Arkansas, they'll be in any danger of losing a New Year's 6. You got to see where the CFP has them. I really doubt Mizzou is penalized for having a close game against Florida. They may fall below Louisville, but that really is irrelevant to Mizzou anyways. They need to stay in front of Penn State and Ole Miss especially. So I think Mizzou will be fine. So I would not stress about the bowl situation right now.
And you should back yourself, by the way. You know about the bowl structure. We trust you.
Sometimes I don't know if it's kind of tangled the way they do these bowls.
I don't think we can blame you for getting anything wrong with the NCAA deciding bowl games. They are pretty off the rails sometimes. Kenny, you got anything on the rankings?
I'll mention one thing about the Tigers being in the top 10 for AP. This is the first time since 2013 at the end of the season when Missouri finished in the top 10. Pretty cool to see. It's been 10 years since that's happened, and big turnaround season. And I saw a good meme on X earlier that Mizzou football is good at what cost? Mizzou basketball being bad. And that's kind of what the season we're going to see this year, almost like a flip of what last year was.
Good point. Full circle. You can't have both, Payton. We've been fans of this program for long enough. We understand this. This is the dance we have to do. News. We have other news too. I know we talked about this because it got announced that it was going to happen. I think it got delayed, right? This stadium stuff was supposed to come out, I think, on the 6th of November, but we got it over the weekend. So this comes from news we get to announce. Also, it's fun because it's from friend of the show, Moon Choi, of course, is a part of this release. But from what I understand it, the Board of Curators has passed a resolution for Mizzou football to renovate more of Memorial Stadium. I know we had the south end zone that had just got done in 2019 when we arrived on campus. And now they're shifting, from what I understand, Kenny and Payton, to the north end zone. They're going to do stuff there, and then just fan amenities and some new concourse stuff. Is there anything more specific than that I missed?
They said in there that there will be a new video board and a new speaker system in 2024, which is good because the speaker system especially is garbage. But no, this is exciting stuff. Actually, I misunderstood the original announcement. I thought this was maybe going to be an announcement for all sports. I still think that is planned. I'd have to go back and look, but
no, yeah, because they said something about that. It was they were going to improve some non-rev arenas as well.
Yeah, and that's obviously important as well. But no, this needs to take precedent. I mean, we'll know what it's supposed to look like in April. Hopefully, there's a good new seating extension or something. I don't know. I'm not an architect, but it's exciting stuff.
They're gonna paint them all black again. They're gonna paint the hill black.
They're gonna paint the bleachers black. But no, it's
hot
cool.
As hell.
You want to see Mizzou continue to improve in that stuff. The rock end rather is not going anywhere, so people can calm down about that.
I know a lot of Mizzou fans were a little bit excited about the release because they wanted to see some renderings, and I think I was a little bit excited about that too. This video board, the current one was installed in 2009. Great thing to see, and Drinkwitz talked about it a lot last year. Being an SEC program, you want to compete with what the other teams are doing, what other programs have. Memorial Stadium is never going to be an SEC-sized stadium. It's just what they've done in the north and south end zone. They're not going to go all the way around and make a full bowl like how some of the big top dogs will have, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. But to just further the advancement of technology of these stadiums is a great thing too. And he even talked about other parts of the program, from the lights on the practice field to the new indoor. These are great steps forward for Mizzou, not just for fans, but also just the future of the program, and reeling in some of the top talents and giving them the best experience as they continue their football careers.
I think they have a way to make it like the top dogs. You need to do what everyone wants, what the people want to see, and make the mega rock. I want the rock that you can see from space. Everyone was saying, oh, we don't have renderings. We don't have renderings. I saw some renderings of the hill just over enveloping Stadium Boulevard behind the north end zone. That's what I want. I want the mega rock M. That reminded me too of, they were making jokes on the broadcast of wow, people sit on the rocks. That's got to be uncomfortable, not premium seating, which kind of annoyed me. It was also funny, but yeah,
the hill in general is kind of,
it's not comfortable. It's not
the most comfortable place to watch.
I'll say it. I'll say it. I mean, it's tradition though. You can't get rid of the rock M. I totally agree, but yeah, it's not the most comfortable. That's fair. But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. And yeah, I am curious to see with the non-rev stuff too, because that can be improved. Like Hearns, I know it's got a lot of historical significance, but it's
the tennis center, from what I understand, is unusable. So
yeah, it's not
probably
very good.
Be on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the baseball and trying to improve stuff there. I know softball got the new stadium, which is great. It's super fun to watch games there. So hopefully all those other sports, because this, oh my God, the soccer field too. Don't even get me started. That needs some looking at as well. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out on all that stuff. And then last thing, shifting back, I guess I could have done this in a little bit of different, or no, I have two more things. Because Kenny, I'll let you go through this. Because I, to be honest, didn't know this was a thing. You sent us a list of all of the assistants at Mizzou because they release all their salary information. And there's an interesting name toward the bottom of that list perhaps worryingly for his future, given the good he's done for this program.
Yeah, I was pretty interested in just seeing this. Right when I saw the link, I had to click on it because you don't really always know the football assistant coaching salaries in college football ever. You talk about last season, Drinkwitz put precedent into funding, more of the staff, keeping these guys around. Don't let them get away because another program will throw more money at them, offer them a better opportunity. Blake Baker, one of the primary guys who saw that last year with his extension after such a great season in his first year as the DC for the Tigers. 1.4 million is his total pay. The breakdown is that I thought this was interesting as well, is that the assistant coach total pay pool for Missouri is 5.85 million. Drinkwitz is at 6 million. And that's for the full season is how I'm interpreting it. But I mean, that's a pretty strong thing that he is putting his assistant coaches first. You kind of look at some of the breakdowns. Some of those numbers are close, but then you look at Tennessee where it's 9 million to nearly 7. It varies. So Blake Baker, of course, is atop that list. Next one up, of course, is Kirby Moore, the offensive coordinator, at 850. Following that, Curtis Looper and Brandon Jones, both at 575. Curtis Looper, the running backs coach, also works with a lot of the returners. Brandon Jones came over from the University of Houston, who Payton told me that wasn't actually with the University of Houston when he was hired, but that's where he previously coached. He is also at 575, working really well with those offensive linemen this year. And another thing that Talan Chandler pointed out is, how good Jones has been with these guys. And that's been one of his contacts. And Jones hasn't even been around for that long yet. DJ Smith, linebackers coach and co-defensive coordinator, is at 550. Following him, Eric Link, special teams coordinator, tight ends coach, assistant coach, 450,000. Kevin Peoples, exterior defensive line, up for an award this season as well, or not up for, but on the watch list. He's at 400,000. Jacob Peeler, this is the one that really stood out to me, is at 375,000. And that's an interesting one for me because there's been some rumors before floating around about Ole Miss or going back to Ole Miss or going to Auburn, joining Hugh Freeze, and maybe even stepping up in a role that's more prominent than just being the wide receivers coach. And we know the history of Jacob Peeler as well, the guys he's gotten to the league. But at the same time, you got to maybe start to think about, is there going to be another program out there that gives him a better opportunity and pays him a little bit better? Rounding out this list, Al Poe, cornerbacks coach, at 350. Al Davis, interior defensive line, at 325.
Well, Al Davis makes enough as the Raiders owner, so he can take a pay cut to coach Mizzou's defense. Sorry, that was a low-hanging fruit. Yeah, I don't know. That Peeler thing stands out to me. And the only other thing is, it just makes me laugh when you were like, oh yeah, Blake Baker, his salary is $1.3 million. Like, what other thing can you ever say that about a person? Like that, it's normally like a taboo question. Don't ask someone how much they make, but it's all public when you coach football. But yeah, that is a cool thing to point out because I totally didn't know about that. So, you can see all of that information as every team, it looks like, in FBS. So yeah, you can compare. Back to recruiting. I could have done this earlier, I guess, with Flip Miss, but we had a Drinkwitz spotting. He was at the Rockhurst Nixa game. That was just a little sidebar. Aaron Ladd, TV, posted that. Very nice guy, works out in Kansas City.
Jackson Cantwell is the guy he was there to see. Oldest.
Yes, he's a 5-star, isn't he?
He's like one of the best recruits in the nation in 2025.
Yeah. So getting in on the ground floor, you said he might focus on the transfer portal, but another in-state guy in Cantwell to maybe keep an eye on for Mr. Drinkwitz. And with that, boys, I think that's all the Mizzou news we got. I think we did this in the right order. I'm feeling a lot better now going into quick hits with the rest of the show after we got the bad out of the way. Jackson State game out of the way. That was tough. But yeah, with that, we will segue and do quick hits to finish the show. Okay, quick hits time, and it's that time. Kenny, take it away for Ken's Sports Shorts. I want you to make an edit or something of like a game show type. Yeah, game show type jingle. Well, maybe I'll get that in the works, but take it away.
All right, this week I have a different little game for you guys. You guys get 5 total, so you're going to go back and forth 5 numbers. It's not a player this time. This is a question of how many people have played, assisted been an assistant or coached with. So it's either a player, assistant, or coach been involved with Norm Stewart in his career at the University of Missouri. And you guys will take the number that you give me, and I will tell you higher or lower. You get 5 total together.
Oh,
I thought this was going to be like a back and forth of me and Payton just had to like name Norm Stewart players until we ran out, which that would be tough because this is a long time. But so played, coached with, or was just part of his staff?
Yes.
I assume this doesn't include like random GAs because they probably don't like.
I bet it does. Honestly, I bet it does.
Where did you get this list from?
So this list comes from the MU archives on Missouri EDU. So it's a part of their Tiger Trivia handout.
Oh, so you have a template, do you? Now I know what I'm going to go look at after this is done. I'm just kidding. So we give you a number of how many we think. Payton, I'll let you go first.
Great, thanks. I'm glad.
Okay, Pete.
He coached at Mizzou for no joke, like 40 years.
Do you want to know how many games he coached?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, Norm Stewart coached 1,106 games. According to this, I think the last time this was updated was in 2017, but
he hasn't coached since.
I know, but I'm talking. It's this next part is why, and so it's 28 other coaches in NCAA history have coached more. I don't know if that number's changed with Coach K, or even Coach K was affected by it, but that's where it is right now, 1,106, and that's the final number as well.
Okay, let's say you play about 30 games a year. Okay, so that's around like almost 4 decades of games, I would say. So he coached 30-something years. Let's see, you get about 5 assistants on a staff, let's say. I'm just going a very rough estimate right now. Like, let's go 10 assistants, okay? 13 players. It's 23. 23 times, like, 30-something. Am I allowed to break out a calculator?
Oh, I'm using my calculator right now.
It's 690 is that number.
690. I will go a little over. Go a little over that. I'm going to say 900.
Higher.
Oh, my God.
Jack.
1,215.
Lower.
Okay, we're in the ballpark, Nolan. This is big.
We have 5 total, right? So we've used 2 guesses?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say, so you said 1,215 lower. Obviously, we got to go higher than 900. Kind of go like towards the middle, 1,050.
Higher.
Okay.
1,138.
Lower.
Damn it.
Wow, we're like within 100 at this point.
Yeah, we're close.
Okay.
We have what?
1,000.
One more guess?
Yeah, this is the last one.
Last
so
guess.
Come on, Payton.
Obviously, it's under 1,138. I'm gonna say it's not in the 1,100s.
Yeah, I think it's got maybe it's like 1,099, like a weird number, like a close number or something.
1,097 players / coaches / GAs.
That is incorrect, but Jack, you scared me there for a second. I thought you looked it up. You were very close. 1,127 people have played.
Oh my God, you're within 9.
Coach Stewart as a player, assistant, and coach. Pretty incredible.
There you go.
That is a lot of people to meet.
Yeah,
do you think he remembers them all?
I think about that. Like a scary amount of like coaches.
I
that
think
have
there's
been there
a
forever.
0% chance that he remembers them all.
Yeah, like I've been like obviously I work like Kenny disclosed. Like I work a little bit with Alabama now, and like I think about that with Saban. I'm like, there's definitely people on football rosters that Saban has no idea he coached.
You might not know some of the guys on his staff or his team now.
Right.
They'd come up to him and be like, Coach Saban, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? How's it going, guys?"
It is funny. There's an old video of a little walk on going up to Jalen Hurts and saying, QB1, and then he's like, who are you kind of thing.
Oh.
It's just, I mean, there's guys on the team you just don't know well.
You got to befriend them. That's what I would have done.
I'm going to correct myself on this number. So it's 1,127 players that played at MU involving Norm Stewart. Norm Stewart as a player, an assistant, and a coach. So I mean, it was all the trifecta of Norm Stewart. So I mean, Payton, you going to that 900 mark was pretty brilliant to start it off.
Yeah, that was
so
good math.
job on that.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of tuned him out, and I was like, whatever number Payton says at the end of this, I'm just going to go up from there. If we're whatever, higher or lower from there. Sorry, Payton, but good job on the math.
That's okay.
You did good on that. Okay,
Yeah, nice.
that's it for Ken Sports Shorts this week. Getting back into best beats of the week. This is where we stand. Payton, you were in first place at 22-15. Your Akron, we mentioned this beat last week. Akron under 4 wins on the season hit. Your Georgia State versus LSU bet also hit, even though Georgia State kept the game close to start. Jack, you're a sicko. You're 21-15. And then Akron versus
Coming
Eastern
for you,
Michigan
Payton.
sucked because Eastern Michigan only won by 3 and not more than 4.5. So
we should keep track next year when we do this. Let's do a bad beats like tracker. We just have a list of the games that screwed us like
ones.
that. Yeah. Sorry about that, Kenny.
So that's where we stand in that. Don't look back on how I started off in best beats. I was 11-1 at one point.
Were you really?
Respond well. Yes.
Oh,
I was, until we got into real sports, I was betting on some crazy stuff, surfing and ping pong. I was going off the rails. I'm not going to go off the rails with this one. I continue to kind of look at some lines for games that involved Mizzou this season. And here's another one. Memphis having a great year at 8-3 at the moment. Looking for this 9th win in the last weekend. Memphis is favored by 10 points on the road against Temple. Temple not having a great year. On the opposite end at 3-8, opportunity here for Memphis to get a 9-win season. Played a close game against SMU this past weekend. Memphis, close game against the Tigers. In some sense, they've fought for it, but this is a good opportunity for Memphis and myself to win. Please help me win.
Quality non-con for Mizzou. My best beat of the week.
The Owls suck. Sorry.
Yeah, Temple's horrible. I feel good about this one for you, Kenny.
Yeah,
I'm going Alabama over Auburn. We touched on this earlier off air. This is going to be a bloodbath. I mean, Auburn just got absolutely not just beat, I mean, killed by Jerry Kill and the New Mexico State Aggies. Jerry Kill had an awesome quote after the game. He said, "I'm not going to live much longer. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but what the hell?" Auburn paid us $1.7 million to come and play this game.
He dropped the fee.
He said, yeah, he told it. He told his locker room that the players joked, "When are we going to get some of that?" That is, I mean, what Jerry Kill has done at New Mexico State, not even just this year, last year. I mean, they were the team Mizzou played, and obviously Mizzou beat them, but because Mizzou's a real SEC program, Auburn's fake. I mean, it's like nothing short of a miracle. I mean, this is a program that had been to one bowl game since the 60s before Jerry Kill took over last year, and they are in the Conference USA title game this year. That is just a remarkable turnaround. But getting back to the beat, yeah, Alabama is way better than Auburn. They're going. I don't care. You could play this game wherever you want. Alabama will win by more than 14.
I know I'm biased because I've had a microscope lens on them for a while, but this Alabama team is really good. They are better than their number 8 ranking. The CFP messed up by putting Texas and Oregon ahead of them, and they're in a tricky spot with Texas. But yeah, they're a good team. They're peaking at the right time.
I think Auburn should play this game at New Mexico State. I think it would fuel them because Diego Pavia owns Auburn, and if you look at
really
our
likes
SEC
using the
tier
bathroom.
list, he really likes using the bathroom. Check out our SEC tier list on X. It's pretty funny. A Florida fan did reply to it and say, "How do we keep losing games like this?" And it's like literally you're replying to a Mizzou account, and I don't think you know what Mizzou has been through the last 5 years. So, go ahead, Jack.
Shop.
Yeah, Diego Pavia really likes using the bathroom. I'll keep it short and sweet here, fellas. You guys know the drill for my best beat of the week. It was close last time with Iowa and Illinois. It came down. It was 28. I think I got the line at 30.5. And I will stay the course. Iowa has booked its place in the Big Ten championship game, which means I am guaranteed 3 more Sicko bets here for this year, because I got the Big Ten championship game and their bowl game. And of course, this week when they go on the road for their trophy game against Nebraska, the over-under is 27.5. Nebraska did score a decent amount of points against Wisconsin on the road. That game went to overtime. They will not do the same against the newly crowned Big Ten West champions. Give me the under in this.
I said this last week. I am starting my own separate record keeping off this. I'm not counting this one.
Wow, you're asterixing this?
I thought we banned you from this. I thought
No.
you were banned.
That was not unanimously decided.
Okay,
No,
here's a
I
new
think
thing.
Nope.
I got
Not
something.
banned. Not banned.
If this doesn't hit, you're banned, and you can't do
Okay.
it
You
anymore.
can never,
You're done.
not just this, you
Ever
can never
again.
bet on Iowa again. Ever.
That's not
ever
fair.
Again.
One bet a
This
year.
Okay,
is
this
5
bet a year.
weeks in a row.
One bet a year.
No, I'm putting my foot down.
You guys are just pissed because
Never
I have a
again.
strategy.
It's
Kenny's mad because he started 11-0. You're mad because I'm coming for your title. You guys are just both
I'm not
mad.
mad.
You're both haters.
Look at this.
You're
You look at
disrespecting all the
pick
gremlins out there.
that we do for NFL. I don't need to be scared of you. Okay,
One game a
Eventually
year.
The Iowa games are gonna run out.
Yeah, and then I'll do it again next year. And you know what? I'll agree to it, but one game a year. I get to do one game a year, not none.
Fine, one game a year. I'm
All right,
still
it's
not
not gonna
counting
matter.
this one, but
It's not going to matter because it's going to hit. So you guys are all haters.
Where is this game?
this
in
is
Nebraska.
in Nebraska.
Oof.
It doesn't matter where it
I
is.
hate the Big Ten.
It's in the
Stupid.
sick Big Ten.
I don't know
You
how
guys are just
people
haters
watch
to all the
basketball,
gremlins out
man.
there.
I don't. I was raised a Big Ten kid, and then I went to Mizzou and realized that was silly.
I was also raised a Big Ten kid. I also have not watched, I don't think, a second of any of these.
I have
games.
not. I have not
just know
watched
they're gonna
one
hit.
iota of Iowa football. I can't do it.
I did watch an entire
angry.
Iowa football game, and the under hit in that game. The team I was rooting for also lost.
I
but
I
whatever.
can't do it.
Give me the under.
Ridiculous, Jack. We need to ban you at some point. Okay, Dirty Birds.
You guys are haters.
Dirty Birds of
Bird.
the weekend. This is going to be a fun one. St. Louis Cardinals back in here. Offseason is in full swing. And Aaron Nola, who looked like a prized target for the Cardinals, is re-signed with the Phillies. Got his extension, 7-year deal worth $172 million. One of the best Phillies pitchers of all time. And I think he's a little bit underrated in that sense. But he's had a great career in Philly. And he could finish as one of the best Phillies of all time to many. And it kind of sucks that maybe that the Cardinals missed out on him, but maybe Sonny Gray is interested in the gateway to the Midwest. Another guy out there that the Cardinals could be interested in.
34-year-old, great. That ought to fix it. Yeah, the Cardinals suck. My dirty bird of the weekend. I'm going with the Cardinals. The Cardinals took on the Texans this weekend. Kenny was at this game, actually, and they did not win. They forced 3 interceptions.
Did not win.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud threw 3 interceptions. He entered the game with only 2. Had some real regression to the mean today. But still, I mean, they couldn't get it done. 21-16. Texans are a sleeper playoff team here, man.
Yeah, they're fun. Kenny, I forgot you were at this game. How was it?
It was great. I went with my good old pal, Zach Hernandez, who's been on the program before. Enjoyed some
Probably will never be
$30,
again.
Yeah,
$30 meal. And that's just what it was. But great seats.
Did you get
I
hot dogs?
really enjoyed it. I did not get a hot dog. I got a Philly cheesesteak.
I guess it's a Billy or that no, not a what? That's a baseball thing. I guess
Baseball
more for you.
thing. I'm a Billy Goat when it comes to hot dogs. It's a bad day to be a hot dog. If anyone wants to challenge me to a hot dog eating contest out there, we can do one on a live stream. You're gonna lose.
That's not a good idea at all.
Kenny's
you
the
guys
leader.
My stomach hurts.
Oh, my stomach hurts.
That's a-
No, so it was
2 hot
It
dogs
was a great
in.
game. Defense played well. Christian Harris, unbelievable in that second half. Keep your eyes out on the Texans.
I'm really sad for I had CJ Stroud. I picked him up during I had Joe Burrow on a fantasy team, and I picked CJ Stroud up when he was on bye, dropped him, and now Joe Burrow is out for the season, and I no longer have CJ Stroud. So congrats to him though, Kenny. He's been a home run draft pick. You saw him get drafted.
So did you.
You did
We
too.
were all there.
Yeah, but it's your team. All right, whatever. My dirty bird of the weekend goes to the Cardinals. The Louisville Cardinals, that is. It's a trifecta of Cardinals on the dirty birds here. They lost in the Empire Classic semifinal game to Texas, and none other than 37-year-old and somehow still in college, Max Asmus. Of course, a lot of people remember him from Oral Roberts. He was there, had the run as the 15 seed when they beat Ohio State in 2021. He's still in college. He had a crazy dagger shot for Texas, where he is now, to beat Louisville. It's a little harsh to do to Louisville. Their men's basketball program is really bad, and they were right in this game. But hey, at least they didn't lose to Jackson State. So, but still dirty birds.
Payton.
Yeah. But Max Asmus still in college basketball. Yeah. One of those names. Okay. Next up, it's that time.
Uh-oh.
It's
Kenny. What time is it, Kenny? What
it's
time is it,
time.
Fraud! We're here for the NFL Fraud Rankings. Weighing in the fifth corner are the Washington Commanders. Sam Howell.
Who are we? The command frauds.
Has a lot of passing yards on the season. But you know what he doesn't have? A lot of Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito comes into this game hearing all the trash talk from you Italian haters and throws for 246 yards and 3 touchdowns.
More like Tommy DeVito, the command frauds.
Coming in at 4th in the fraud rankings this week, and this team even won. The Miami Dolphins. We know they can't play on the big stage. Can't play when the lights are bright. Can't play against Aiden O'Connell and the Las Vegas Raiders. Picked him off 3 times, but only won by a touchdown.
Tua Tagovailoa, did anyone go to your birthday party? I don't know.
Nice haircut, buddy. Fraud. Coming in at 3rd, and this one's an easy one. It's Easy Pickens. Coming in at 3rd on the fraud rankings is Kenny Pickett. Great name, by the way, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's going on in Pittsburgh? Taking on the Cleveland Browns. Shout out Jack Knowlton for that DTR pick. Also, shout out DTR for throwing a pick. 13-10, the Cleveland Browns. Stop the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coming in at number 2, and this is a sad one. We don't like to talk about injuries in this sense, but the Bengals are frauds. The season is over. Joe Burrow, unfortunately, out for the remainder of the season. Only had 101 yards and a touchdown in this loss. 34-20. Baltimore.
Go Huskies.
Running away with the division.
Jim McCarron.
And coming in at number 1 in the fraud rankings, we're going to throw it over to Jack Knowlton to talk about his Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, yeah, guys. I'm over here with Mr. Pete Carroll. Pete, what are your thoughts on the game? We played really bad today. We're frauds. Sean McVay owns my stupid franchise, and we can't not have a penalty called. This game was terrible. The Seahawks are fraudulent. But at least Drew Lock played, guys. Drew Lock got
not well.
Yeah, he threw a pick. Fraud. Normally we did it through all the way to music. I forgot to pause. Thank you to Pete Carroll for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Good fraud.
That was not Pete Carroll for legal reasons.
Ratio/joke/community note of the weekend.
Had a couple submissions for ratio of the week and ratio of the weekend. These two come from our friends Jock Selbill and Justin Bear, who've been on the program. Brett Sarver. Wouldn't say he's a friend of ours, but we know he's a great figure in the Mizzou world. Someone was going after Brett Sarver, making fun of him, and of course Mizzou Mafia, Mizzou Twitter backed Brett Sarver up and ratioed this guy named Hywell Dida was my grandpappy. That's a stupid name, and don't make fun of Brett Sarver. He's a nice guy. And of course, someone did reply, I am Brett Sarver. Always a good response. This one comes from Justin Bear, who also sponsors this segment for us. Mark Luino, who is Giraffe Neck Mark. If you're a baseball fan, you know of Giraffe Neck Mark. If you're a baseball fan that uses YouTube, of course. Justin Herbert loses again. How long are we going to keep holding up on the most talented loser in the NFL? And Slasher on X replied, can he play defense? And it happened again this week for Justin Herbert because it is his fault that his wide receivers can't catch a ball that hits them in their own hands.
That was really bad. Keenan Allen, that one catch in the end zone. They lost to the Packers.
I think
Packers aren't
Quentin
good.
Johnston may be the fastest player. I think everybody just unanimously agrees is just horrible, like a bust.
Bust.
Like he's really bad.
I was a big Quentin Johnston fan. I remember before the draft, and
Brainwashed.
don't operate in that camp.
Insanity run.
I was very brainwashed by the TCU Linsanity run. Also, going back to that first person's name, I'll give you guys $1,000 if you can tell me who Highwell Dita is. I've looked it up. It's a real person.
No idea.
Highwell Dita, which translates to Howl the Good in English, was a Welsh king who ruled southern Welsh kingdom of Herbert and eventually came to rule most of Wales. That's who that is.
And now Wales doesn't exist. So,
for legal reasons, that's not true.
I don't really understand the geopolitics of the UK. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't. That's not what we're about on this podcast. All right, we'll end the show with that. On that note, Welsh Kings and all. Forgot to mention with basketball, men's basketball, we have South Carolina State. Mizzou's playing on Wednesday. You can watch that on SEC Network Plus. It's on 6 p.m. We're not going to have a recap of that for Thursday's show because we're going to record Thursday's show on Wednesday before the Sac State. It's not Sacramento State. I keep messing that up. Before the South Carolina State game, we're doing the Thursday show on Wednesday midday because happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We aren't going to do a show on Thanksgiving. We will have a recap, though, on Black Friday of Mizzou, Arkansas after that game is done. Might be me and Payton. Kenny might be in here. So still, TBD on all of that. But we will have a great show for you guys coming out on Friday to look at that game. Maybe we'll even drop. Actually, I didn't talk about this. Should we drop it early for the people? A little Thanksgiving show. Maybe people can listen to the rest of it, or listen to it after they eat their Thanksgiving feast, because we'll have it all recorded. No, Payton shaking his head. No,
it's got to go early. Mizzou plays on Friday this week.
Yeah,
we got to release it on Thursday.
Yeah. Why were you shaking your head then?
I was shaking my head. Yes.
Go to the YouTube. He's a liar. Okay, so we'll drop the show on Thursday for you guys. So after you finish your turkey and you need something to do after all the NFL's done, you can listen to the show. We'll have all the preview, have some great guests. Kenny talked about Webb Barrett. It might have Ben Sternberg back on too to get his take on Mizzou men's basketball. But yeah, that's the schedule going forward. But until then, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Black Friday shopping if you're into that. I'm not. I like to sleep. And yeah, we'll have all the preview for Arkansas and then the recap after that game is done. So until then, this has been the Unwritten Rule presented by BetOnline, and see everybody on Friday.